Hi, everybody. We are going to go ahead and keep reading. If you are following along, we are at the top of page 426. If you remember correctly, Sticky and Rainy are in the Whispering Gallery, and Sticky is going first, and he's going to try really hard to resist the whisper as long as he can, which will allow Rainy to try and work out some sort of plan. Kate and Constance received the message from Rainy, and so they are trying their best to get to the tower as quickly as they can. And that is where we left them last time I read. So here we go. In the corridor, they passed several students clinging miserably to paper bags, standing in line for the overcrowded bathroom. There were slick spots here and there on the floor that the helpers hadn't mopped up yet, and Kate nimbly avoided these, trying not to think about them. When a queasy-looking executive approached to ask their business, Kate cried, "Get back! She's about to barf her Brussels sprouts!" The executive, who had already seen more of this sort of thing in one night than she cared to see in a lifetime, stepped aside without another word. Faster and faster Kate ran, catching her pace, her bucket bouncing against her hip, and Constance clinging desperately to her shoulders. Past exhausted helpers with their buckets and mops, out of the dormitory and straight for the secret entrance behind the Institute Control Building. With the help of Mr. Curtin's elevator, Kate figured they could be outside the Whispering Gallery in 30 seconds or less. Providing we get lucky, she thought, and the entrance isn't guarded. She rounded the boulders, kicked the door open, and burst through the foyer into the secret passage. The entrance was guarded, unfortunately, and by none other than Martina Crowe. Kate drew up short, trying to think of what to do. Martina was so astounded by Kate's sudden appearance, she looked almost afraid of them, as if Kate had come to deal her some sort of blow. But she quickly grew haughty. "How did you two get in here? You're in serious trouble now. Do you realize that?" Kate scarcely even heard Martina. Her mind was racing. Could she get past Martina? Alone, maybe, but with Constance on her back? Martina would definitely call for help, and the recruiters guarding the computer room would all come running. All Martina had to do was hold Kate off for a few short moments. No, they'd never make it. They would have to try another way. "Well, what do you have to say for yourselves?" Martina snarled, advancing threateningly. Kate bit her lip, clenched her fist, and for once said nothing. Instead, she whirled on her heel, hitched Constance higher on her back, and ran away. Martina stared after the girls, extremely confused. It was not like Kate Wetherall to back down like that, not like her at all. And why had they come into the secret passage in the first place? They'd been in a hurry, clearly rushing toward some urgent business. Her face darkened as she contemplated the possibilities. Just then, Jilson rounded the corner. She'd spent a dreadful night in the bathroom, making sounds like a sea lion. But now that she was feeling better, she was coming to relieve Martina from guard duty. "Jackson told me to take over for you. If Mr. Curtin doesn't finish the job with Reynard and George, you may be having another session in a few hours. Go get some rest." Martina wasn't listening. Her mind was awhirl with speculations about Kate. The wicked little snoop must know this was the way to the Whispering Gallery, she thought. Why else would the girls have come in here? And what had they been in such a hurry for? And what was that infernal beeping noise? A sound in the distance. Martina was finding it very difficult to concentrate. "Jilson, did you just pass Kate Wetherall in the foyer just now?" "Yes, and that little squirt Constance? You bet I did. I sent them straight back to their rooms. Some kids never learn. It'll be a brain sweep for those two, no doubt about it." "They aren't going back to their rooms," said Martina. Something is going on. Jilson frowned. Is that so? Do you think it has anything to do with that maddening honking sound? What is that anyway? You noticed it too then? I don't know. It almost sounds like... No, it definitely sounds like a code. Yes, it's a code. Morse code. Jilson, do you know Morse code? Don't you? Why on earth would I? Nobody uses Morse code anymore. But you know Mr. Curtin keeps all sorts of code books in his office cabinet. We could take a look. I have the cabinet key with me. Privilege of being a senior executive. Moments later, the two of them were in Mr. Curtin's office, poring over a chart of Morse code, hastily scrawling a transcription of the distant honks. What is a flauta? Jilson asked, scratching her head. Martina corrected the mistake. Not short, short, long, but long, long, short. Not U, but G. Flag Tower. I knew it. Let's go find Jackson. We have 2 more spies to catch. The spies in question were at that very moment hurrying down a corridor in the helpers' barracks, where Kate had just burst into a storage room and snatched a ladder from an alarmed helper. Now they were tripping and stumbling towards the exit. Kate stumbled because of the unwieldy ladder. Constance stumbled because it was her natural method of locomotion, and because her feet hurt from being in the wrong shoes. Come on, Kate urged, panting for breath. Can't you move any faster? Honestly, I can't carry you and the ladder both. Well, just leave me then. You don't want me along anyway. Oh, we don't have time for this, Kate muttered, banging the door open at the end of the corridor and hauling the ladder into the early morning light. Constance came tottering after her, struggling to keep up as Kate rounded the classroom building and charged onto the empty plaza. The horn still sounded from across the water, insistently repeating its urgent message. Kate was just thinking, I wish they would knock it off now. Someone else is sure to catch on, when the horn abruptly stopped. Unfortunately, even as it did so, 2 executives emerged from behind the boulders on the hill to stare very curiously towards the mainland. One of them was SQ, whose gangly frame Kate recognized even from the distance. The other, judging by the size of her head, was a tall-haired executive named Regina. They were too distracted at the moment to notice the girls. Still, this would never do. Constance was dragging behind. If the executives spotted them, she was sure to be caught. Listen, Kate puffed as they crossed the plaza. If those sashes come after us, I'll slow them down. You keep going. Head straight up the hill, behind the Institute Control Building, to the stone wall, below the brook. I'll catch up with you there. Constance stopped. All the way up there? But I can't walk that far. I'm exhausted, and my feet are killing me. Kate skidded to a halt. You can't make anything easy, can you? Not even now, the most important moment of our lives. She dropped the ladder and reached into her bucket for the rope. What are you doing? Said Constance. I thought we were in some huge hurry. Put a lid on it, Kate said. Before Constance could think of a grumpy reply, Kate had tied the ladder to her belt and hoisted the smaller girl upon her back. I'll just have to drag this stupid thing. It's going to make an awful racket. So hang on. With that, Kate was off faster than she could have ever thought possible herself, perhaps spurred by the tremendous bang and clatter and scrape of the ladder dragging behind her. In the distance, Regina began to shout. The ruckus had caught her attention. Kate glanced up the hill to see SQ tripping over his feet and Regina tripping over SQ. As they started out after the girls, bless those size 15, she thought. Now we just might make it. Kate made her way back to the Institute Control Building, hustled past the boulders and the drapery trap, and started up the hill. It was a difficult ascent. There was no path here. The slope was steep and slippery with gravel, and Kate, unlike her pursuers, was dragging a ladder and carrying someone on her back. Even so, Kate was halfway up before SQ and Regina even arrived at the bottom. She was just about to feel encouraged when Martina, Jackson, and Jilson came swarming out of the back of the Institute Control Building. Uh-oh. Sounds like they might be trapped. All right. I hope that you are enjoying listening, and we will be back with more. And I will plan on reading tomorrow.